right? That was the biggest project ever. When it came to ground-mounted solar, it was, oh well, that's off-grid, that's where you need a few panels and a battery. And they were the type of installations that went in before 2010. How we changed. So in 2010 we had 26 megawatt installed, and now we've increased by 100-fold. It's now 2.5 gigawatt. Lots of people ask me about the breakdown, and always wanted, I think some of the press want the angle in terms of, how much of this is large and how much is small, and do the small ones stand a chance, things like this. At the moment, the breakdown is roughly 1.9 gigawatt of small, less than 50 kilowatt projects, predominantly domestic, and about 0.6 of a gigawatt of large buildings and solar parks. What I would say is that as an industry, we need to work together, because this industry will only move forward if there's lots of small, lots of medium, and lots of large, right? It's not one or the other. So bear that in mind when you're dealing with sort of communities, as was mentioned there by Chris, that basically, if you're going to do something in an area, what's the community benefit? Can you do something to help them? Is there a scheme, or can you bring in other people from the region and help them to put solar on the houses, the barns, and all the other things? Where are we heading? The roadmap sat down over Christmas and came out with anything between 7 gigawatt and 20 gigawatt. When we look at the small print, and remember it came out at Christmas, the deployment at the time was set to be 1.4 gigawatt, right? So that's what they based the roadmap on. That's where they were starting from. So if you were to say that if it was 1.4 gigawatt, which it wasn't at Christmas, we're now at 2.5, right? So I think that to just show that the 7 gigawatt figure is going to be well and truly exceeded no matter what happens. I think the government have now realised that solar moves at a rate whereby it's impossible to keep up with. Every report that's ever been written was out of date by the time it came out. So one of the logics to the government's solar strategy group is for industry and government to work together to be constantly up to date with where on earth the industry is and what's about to happen next. The thing that's dangled around recently is storage, right? Like storage is always seen as the holy grail of solar in particular. And a lot of the reports, which are still in deck, still floating around in government, suggest that storage is about 10 to 20 years away, right? Storage is here now and will be deployed in the next year, 2 and 3. So that's going to completely transform markets, right? So solar in the future, you could have a house with a 2 and storage system. You could have a grid with a 2 and storage system as well. That's where we're heading to, and we're heading there very, very fast. These are the 4 main areas that are being tackled by the UK Solar Strategy Group. And the interesting thing is, this was in effect drafted out by government. So it shows that they've actually understood the various issues that the industry has, and that certain barriers need to be removed in order for us to move forward. There's things like some of the processes which are out there, whereby government wouldn't know what's installed in large fields or large roofs for another 6 to 9 months. The systems just don't work. They were never designed for where we are today and how fast we're moving. But there's a number of other areas on there that need to be addressed and can be addressed. Some will need slight changes in legislation, others just need clarity in terms of how you apply the rules. So jumping around a bit, I'll put another hat on now, the STA hat, and the STA there is looked after its members and lobby government when the issues arrive. Make certain that the ministers and the officials know all about the problems. We've set up a number of working groups because we see this as being ideal in interfacing with the Solar Strategy Group to provide the right type of information or the right sort of level of where the obstacles might be and things like this. So those groups are working on things at the moment, and one of the groups is doing PR and coming out with leaflets trying to communicate the facts about solar. There's still an awful lot of myths around, and we need to overcome that. But also this thing about dumping at the moment, anti-dumping campaign, and as far as the STA is concerned, we're lobbying DECBIS and the EU over this. We want the industry to move forward. It was always known that once companies got to gigawatt scale, that drove down the price, that actually creates the market that we're all trying to achieve. So we don't want to stop that happening. But at the same time, there shouldn't be illegal things happening or whatever. So at the moment, we are coordinating a number of solar trade associations throughout Europe in lobbying EU. And the latest rumour is that it will be solved by June the 5th and 6th, and there will be a deal done between China and Europe, and we can all then move on again. Nobody wants trade wars, and solar is such a small thing in relation to the amount of business that's going between Europe and China in any case. So hopefully that will be solved quite quickly and we'll move forward again. National Solar Centre being mentioned this morning, and yes, it is key. It's key to this area. It's a great area to put it, and it's a great opportunity for the area. But it's also a great opportunity for the UK to get that knowledge coordinated. Right? So it's funded by RDF, and without that we wouldn't have got started. So I've been trying to create a solar centre now for about 10 years. And you all know me, I come from the north, which is why half you can't probably understand what I'm talking about. But I'm trying to get it up the north at Norwich a number of years ago. Gave away all BP solars, crown jewels at the time, and they failed miserably. But never mind, it won't fail in Cornwall. We're on a roll. So some of the activities in the centre, it's going to be independent, right? There's lots of people said to me, you know, where do I get the information, the evidence about solar, etc., etc. I speak to one person, he says this. I speak to another, and he says this, etc., etc. So this will be the place where you get the independent information. The super fast broadband will get it out of Cornwall super quick through the websites, and therefore you don't need to constantly travel to Cornwall to get the info, but we'll welcome you down here and have a holiday while you're here. It is a link with academia as well, because academia were going down one path in terms of research, and industry was developing at a fast rate down a different path, and the two were never talking together. So one of the ideas is to merge them two thoughts together, and also there's a number of new products required as we move forward as well. So there's a lot of spin-offs that could come in manufacturing terms in Cornwall. We've got a number of founding partners, and these founding partners have no control over the solar centre whatsoever. They are just interested parties who, for the good of the industry, wanted to help get it started, wanted to put a little bit of money in to get the thing started, because they believe in the future of the solar industry, and so do we. The first publication is out today. I should be waving it around. Maybe Greg Barker's got a team might be waving it around there. But basically what we looked at is that how can we get the information out there whereby, you know, this is good practice, this is the way you should do things. Don't do it the naughty ways, right? Do it the best ways. We've all seen little bits of press reports about some of the fields and things like this. If you follow this guidance, you can't go wrong, right? And the idea behind it is it takes what the experience of Cornwall and is then going to spread that around the country so that other counties know about this. They know what to do, what to accept. We as an industry can lead them and put in the right projects and develop the industry. We want to avoid any bad practices. We want a sustainable future, and bad habits can bite you back quite quickly. So, you know, we shouldn't be putting solar panels under trees. We shouldn't end up with on commercial buildings whereby you get to the, well, I've got me 49 kilowatts on, I don't need to go any further, and just leave it like that photo shows. And obviously we don't want to put solar panels on agricultural land that should be used to grow crops as against have solar panels. You know, so follow the guide, you can't go wrong. The next steps, we're developing, again, things which the industry needs to grow. We need to have a code of practice. We need to follow things. We need to have regulations pulled together so people know about them. We need to guide funders. Funders get misled, etc. We need to guide on grid connections. Let's not waste people's time doing the wrong things or whatever. The other thing, the other information that's out there now with regard to the performance of systems in the UK, and it's significantly better than what was first envisaged. All of it was just computer sort of analysis previously. We knew it was better, but we couldn't prove it because we didn't have the evidence. That evidence is now there, and therefore that's one of the things the National Solar Centre will be trying to get out there. So, yeah, I mentioned the data, so therefore we'll have information evidence for the funders that it works a lot better, therefore they can take higher figures, and therefore make some of the projects work easier. We're going to be doing some side-by-side module testing. There's so many people who come in and say, does it really work in the UK? Or my product is better than his because it's designed for UK weather conditions and things like this. Well, the proof will be in the testing. Large scale and design are two areas whereby it's been missed to date. Most people that have been trained to do installations have been trained to do little installations, 2 kilowatts on the roof or whatever, and then grew into something larger without really having any guidance or training to where to do or what to do. So again, that will be part of the plan. But R&D, there's a lot of R&D projects, and it's quite amazing when you start digging into it, and lots of people go for them. If we can coordinate that, we'll get much better sort of output from it. And this includes a lot of the things that's floating around at the moment is money to do R&D and storage and quickly show how it can be done. But we'll also be providing technical support, problem solving. There's lots of people who are scratching their heads at the moment, why does my system not work correctly, etc. And that's the sort of thing we'll be providing. So it's all about working together. And government, industry and research need to work together, and that's where we're heading as far as an industry is concerned. That's the only way you're going to develop an industry, and the spin-offs of that are quite good. The opportunity is that there's countries around the world who are coming into the solar market that, in effect, may go through the learning curve that we've been through, and therefore we may as well share that knowledge. The future. Energy prices, as you can see, continue to rise. Storage about to happen. All these power stations about to be switched off. Blackouts at the next election. Great future, isn't it? So there's nothing really to stop solar. Right? You'll be able to switch off from the grid, have your own little system on your house, have your own storage, and say, we'll have the grid as a backup. That's going to shape the utilities. Never mind. My personal view is that the 20 gigawatt, right, will be the minimum, right? And there's a number of people that I'm dealing with who are now thinking the same, right? I wouldn't be surprised if that number is more like 25 to 30 by 2020. Thank you very much.